In one of Diddy's myriad lawsuits, the plaintiff in the action filed on the federal court docket an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement that he alleges is of paramount importance in the lawsuit. Now, I got a message from one of my viewers wondering how this NDA could be legal and how Diddy could actually enforce this when he's just making people sign it as they come into these allegedly wild and lavish parties that he's having. So we're going to have a look at the NDA. But before we do that, we're going to have a look at the complaint and how the plaintiff is using it in the complaint. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this is the complaint, and the plaintiff is Rodney Jones. Now, he alleges that he had a business relationship with Diddy that essentially soured, and Diddy was forcing him to do all types of things that he didn't really sign up for in the beginning. Now, in this complaint, though, he has these allegations regarding the NDA. It says, upon information and belief, a few days before the September 12th, 2022 shooting inside of Chalice Recording Studio, Mr. Combs required all attendees of the CRS to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Now, the CRS, the Chalice Recording Studio, is what it says. It is a recording studio. This is Diddy's place of business. This is where he goes to produce records, to make beats, to do all of the things that recording artists do. He's meeting with business people. He's meeting with other artists. He's got other producers in there. He's got his sound team in there. He's got all these people in there, and they're all engaged in business with Diddy. So the plaintiff here is saying, look, he had all of these people sign these agreements prior to this alleged shooting that occurred at this venue. Now, of course, he's going to have people sign these agreements because they're there to do business. He doesn't want people coming in with a cell phone camera, taking cell phone video footage of what's going on inside this studio and then profiting on it. He doesn't want people coming in, sampling his beats, taking his beats before he ever has time to actually, put them out in the public and using them on their own. So he has these people sign these NDAs. It makes sense from a business perspective. In fact, Mr. Jones goes on to say, I did not sign the agreement. So at least one person in this Chalice Recording Studio allegedly did not have an NDA with Diddy at the time. He goes on to say a copy of the non-disclosure agreement that a witness who has asked to remain anonymous provided this writer is attached. And he points to attachment A. Now, what he's saying there is, look, I got this NDA by way of a third party, which means he likely, A, was never required to sign an NDA for any of these recording studios or anything that he alleges that he was in with Diddy. But further, that he didn't have to sign an NDA to get into all of these parties that he alleges that he was attending. The entire basis of his complaint is based on all of these other things that were going on in Diddy's homes and on yachts and on airplanes. He never signed an NDA. There's no NDA attached to the complaint regarding any of those things. So the idea that some people are putting out there that Diddy is somehow having people sign these NDAs as they're entering into his house to attend one of these lavish parties just isn't justified by the allegations in the complaint that we're getting the actual NDA from. So with that, let's have a look at the NDA, see what it has to say. So this is attachment A to the complaint. And I tried to go through this and kind of parse this out for you because this is a bit of a word salad. It's very dense. Sentences are extremely long and kind of difficult to parse through. So first, we're going to get through a couple definitions. So you in this agreement includes you, your estate, each corporation and or other business entity in which you have an ownership or beneficial interest, and any and all persons and or entities owned and or controlled by you and or such businesses, and all of your respective heirs, executors, representatives, administrators, employees, licensees, successors, and assigns. So far, so good. This is standard NDA stuff. We want to make sure that not only you, but everybody that's somehow related to you is covered by this NDA so that you can't pass the information on to someone else and use it. Sean Diddy Combs is going to be known as the artist throughout this NDA, and the artist and or any person, corporation, and or other entity related to or affiliated and or associated with artist personally and or professionally, including without limitation family members, relatives, and past or present fiancés, husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, and business associates are going to be defined as artist parties, and each individually as an artist party. So he's creating this NDA. He's created this NDA and he's requiring people to sign it, and he's lassoing in an entire swath of people, friends and husbands and wives and boyfriends and girlfriends of every person who is either personally or professionally related to the artist in essentially any way. So this applies to all of those people and the information that the signee has about any of those people. This portion in red is what I find to be the most onerous and egregious portion of this particular NDA. You hereby irrevocably agree that you shall not at any time use or disclose directly or indirectly to anyone any of the following information. Any information acquired by you in any manner and or by any medium or means whatsoever at any time in the past, present, and or future. So if you got information that's prohibited 10 years ago, it's covered. Any information which concerns or in any way relates to artist, any artist parties, and or artists' business activities, entertainment activities, financial affairs, and or personal life, and all such information shall be deemed confidential, private, secret, and sensitive, and kept by you as confidential. So, regardless of when you got the information, if you got any information about P. Diddy or any of these related people, any friends, associates, relatives, business friends, personal friends, everybody under the sun that is somehow tangentially related to P. Diddy is covered by this agreement, and any information that you have acquired at any point in your life regarding any of those people is covered by this NDA from the past, all the way into the future. For the life of this agreement, all information you get, no matter where you get it from, is covered. That's onerous. That is not the typical NDA. B, any and all information described in paragraph 1A, whether prepared by or on behalf of you or otherwise coming into your possession, is and shall remain artist's sole and exclusive property, and shall not be disclosed, removed, sold, disseminated, copied, or otherwise used and or exploited by or on behalf of you. So not only is the information to be kept confidential, but the information belongs to Diddy. Whether it's in your head, whether you write it down, doesn't matter. It belongs to Diddy under this agreement. Moving on. C, you shall not and shall not authorize any third party to photograph, film, or otherwise record any sound, likeness, and or activities of artist and or any artist parties of any kind or nature. You shall not and shall not authorize or facilitate any third party to give any interviews, write or prepare or assist in the preparation of any books or articles, make any remarks of any kind, or create any other materials in any media. So if it has anything to do with the information, don't do it. Including, without limitation, confirming and or denying any confidential information related to artist and or any artist parties. Now, included in the confidential information is the existence of this NDA. It is a violation of the NDA to tell somebody that you've signed the NDA, that the NDA exists, which means you can't confirm or deny any of the confidential information, and you can't tell why you're confirming, or you can't confirm or deny any of the confidential information. So if somebody comes up and asks you anything about Diddy or any one of these artist parties, you can neither confirm nor deny. If somebody says Diddy did X, Y, and Z at one of these parties, your answer has to be, I can neither confirm nor deny. Even if it's something bad, you can't say it didn't happen. You can't say it did happen, but you can't say it didn't happen. You can neither confirm nor deny. So, moving on. Which interviews, books, articles, remarks, and or materials concern, discuss, or reference artists and or any artist parties in any manner whatsoever. All information and materials in paragraph 1A through D are called the prohibited material. So all of that information we just talked about is now going to be called the prohibited material. And now we're getting into another extremely onerous provision. You hereby irrevocably grant, convey, transfer, and assign to artist all worldwide right, title, and interest, including all copyrights and any renewal, extension, or similar rights in and to any prohibited material. The prohibited material includes the confidential material. The confidential material includes all of the information in your head. And artist may register such copyright in his own name or the name of any designee, and artist and or the artist party shall be entitled to recover any and all monies or other benefits whatsoever received by or on behalf of you from any and all sources in connection with any use and or dissemination by or on behalf of you of any confidential information and or prohibited material hereunder. And any such monies or other benefits so received by or on behalf of you shall be held in trust by or on behalf of you for immediate payment to artist or artist party. So if you violate this agreement by going out and making money on the information that belongs to Diddy, is considered confidential, that you are supposed to hold in confidence, and is included in the definition of prohibited material. If you make money off of that, you got to put that money into a trust account. If you don't put it in a trust account, you violated this agreement again. And then when I come for it, you better be in that trust account, because then you got to give it to me, according to Diddy. Further, you shall not at any time defame or disparage artist and or the artist parties. So you can't say anything bad about us, but of course you can't say anything about us because you could neither confirm nor deny anything. You shall not A, distribute, publish, or permit the distribution or publication of photographs, videotapes, films, audio tapes, or any other recorded sound or image or any other materials of artists and or artist parties, whether or not the same constitute prohibited materials. Now, prohibited materials seems to me to be the universe of all things that have to do with Diddy once you sign this agreement. So I don't know what exists outside of the prohibited material that he could possibly prevent you from disclosing, because the prohibited materials is everything. But whatever. B, copy, excerpt, or otherwise use and or dispose of any artist and or artist parties materials, including any property or materials in your possession or control that belong to artists and or the artist parties. Now remember, all of the information in whatever medium belong to the artist. So you can't copy, excerpt, or otherwise use or dispose of anything that has Diddy's name on it or the name of any of these people. Anybody that's somehow affiliated with Diddy, if you buy a newspaper with Diddy's name in it, you can't dispose of that newspaper because it belongs to Diddy. And that upon expiration or termination of the relationship with or in connection with artist or such earlier date as artist may require, you and your legal representatives, heirs, successors, or assigns shall promptly deliver possession to artist in good condition any such property of artist and or artist parties and or other records, copies, excerpts, and other aforementioned materials that are in your possession or control. So one, you got to keep all that stuff, that newspaper that you bought 3 years ago, you got to keep it in good condition. And whenever Diddy comes and asks for it, you better have it and you better give it to him. That's what this says anyway. If you breach or threaten to breach paragraph 1, artist and or artist parties shall be entitled to injunctive relief. That's pretty standard. You agree to execute any documents and take such other actions as may be reasonably requested by artists and or the artist parties to further evidence or effectuate the rights set forth in this agreement. You hereby appoint artists as your attorney in fact with full power of substitution and delegation to execute all such documents which you fail to execute within 5 days after artists and or any artist parties request therefore. So attorney in fact doesn't mean attorney. It means you're just giving somebody essentially the power of an attorney, a power of attorney to execute very specific documents. And those are the documents that are encompassed in this NDA. And I have seen NDAs that have these types of provisions in them. They're fairly common. The problem here is that the reach of the documents that he could sign is just so overly broad because the information that is supposedly confidential is way too overly broad. The term of this agreement, another one of those paragraphs in red. You know what that means. The term of this agreement and duty to keep all information confidential and not use the prohibited material shall commence on the first date above and continue for the life of the artist plus 20 years or 70 years, whichever is longer. So at a minimum, 70 years. That's how long you're bound to keep this information confidential. So you can start talking about Diddy again once you're dead. You warrant and represent that you have signed this agreement voluntarily without duress, coercion, or undue influence. This is superfluous. I love superfluous language when I'm reading these contracts because I find it funny. So if Diddy has a gun to your head and he says you have to sign this NDA, that is you being under duress. You really have no choice in that situation but to sign the NDA. Putting in a sentence that says you have signed this agreement voluntarily without duress, coercion, or undue influence doesn't somehow magically make the duress go away. So this language is superfluous. It means nothing. It's just more words for me to bill you for as your attorney. Now, when I was rendering the text, this came through terribly. So we got to go back to the original, which I could not highlight in order to get the rest of it. But the good thing is most of this is just standard legal language. So it says where the venue is, what the choice of law is, New York for everything. It says that you agree to indemnify and hold harmless all of the beneficiaries of this agreement. So basically, if you get sued under this NDA because you breached it, well, you got to pay for all the legal fees and costs that Diddy or one of the other artist parties has incurred as a result of your breach of this agreement. There's a severability provision, meaning this NDA is likely to be considered overly broad. But because there's a severability provision, the judge has to actually go through and say, okay, this sentence is overly broad, so we're going to cut this out, but the rest of it remains in full force and effect, or at least that's what severability provisions are intended to do. So that's the NDA. But the big takeaway, other than the fact that this is overly broad, is that this is a business document. This is something that, according to the complaint, Diddy was making people sign in order to enter into a business environment with him and perhaps do business with him. This does not look to me like something that he had, sitting outside of a party, and in order to come in, security had to make sure you signed one of these. That's not what the complaint alleges. If you have any questions about the NDA or anything else, let me know in the comments below. For now, my name is Nathan Saunders, and this is The Legal Good.